Hey guys, welcome to day 5 of our stay-at-home mom pep talk challenge. And there's Linda on cue. I hope everyone's had a good weekend and been able to get some rest in, and that you've had a good start to your day. It's been a busy day for me. I had 3 calls this morning, so some related to training, and also I help with my mastermind group that I am a part of, so which has been a blessing. It allows me to get the training I need and also just get to interact with the girls more. So, and I'm getting leadership skills, so it's a good thing. So, anyway, but back to my business. So here we go. Okay, so yesterday I shifted gears a little bit and we talked about being encouraged and inspired to find your talents of what you feel like God has given you, your God-given talents, and discovering those. Again, just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, I felt so inspired and so encouraged from our pastor about what he had to say. And I think that's a really important focus, especially with the times we're living in, to offer hope and encouragement when there's so much negativity and pain and suffering going on right now. So I think that's very important to focus on that. So, but then I warned you today that we were going to talk about a harder subject. So yesterday was a little more inspirational and hopeful. Today we're going to talk about some hard stuff. And I know hard stuff is not fun. I don't like hard stuff either. But I think it's so important as a wife or partner and as a mother that we take care of ourselves in that capacity, mentally and mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, when we're dealing with hard things in our lives, hard situations. And I think that's important for our families to be able to see how we execute those hard situations in a healthy way. Obviously, if we don't deal with things and pretend, it's not healthy to just push everything under the rug and pretend that it's not there and just be strong all the time, but then not really deal with our emotions. And I think that's very much been the case for me. I wouldn't say that I'm angry or that I want to lash out at the world for how things are going, or how excuse me, like back up with how things have happened to my family. But I will say that I was so hyper focused in 2020 with focusing on just taking care of my husband, taking care of my daughter, figuring out what would be the best choice for us financially and logistically with our schedule. Should I continue to work and hire someone to come into our house and be here to take care of my family for safety, or should I stay home? What should I do in terms of finding work? What should and then the whole aspect of when you're dealing with a health issue, it's usually lots of the time, something totally brand new, and then you're having like this major crash course in how to deal with it. And that was very much the case it was for me. I had a 15-year career in healthcare as a CNA, and I was exposed to a lot of different medical conditions and things that I had to learn, and how the body functions and how to look for the signs and symptoms of how to to help my patients manage those situations. But epilepsy has been a whole different ballgame for me, and with the fast paced of how this condition really impacted my husband, I had to learn really fast. I had to learn about the medications. I had to learn about looking for what signs and symptoms were for my husband in terms of when he was having an attack, and when he was struggling to come out of an attack, and whether to call like 911 or give his rescue medication. There were all these new things I had to learn, and so it was overwhelming. And I was just so focused in on the whole year, just making that a priority and a focus, as I should, making sure he's healthy and safe and that my daughter's healthy and safe. But just being in that survival mode all year, and then not really stopping it very often to really reflect and process my own feelings and emotions, that kind of hit me really hard back in December. I would say it started to hit me that I was realizing that I hadn't really dealt with that when I started reflecting about, as you usually do. You hit December, and you start thinking about, okay, what are my takeaways from this year? What are the good ones? What are the bad ones? New Year's resolutions. I've done that for years, like a lot of people do. But this year was quite a different process for me because I realized I had a lot of trauma. I had been so focused on my family that I hadn't really focused on myself, and the impact of everything that we had gone through as a family with my husband's condition and all the changes that we had to make to our family to accommodate the health and safety of my husband and our daughter, and just this, and the stress of dealing with things, or dealing with the financial impact of that. So I want to encourage you to really think about that in your own life. First question would be is, what are your fears with your family and your condition, or your, excuse me, with your family and your spouse or partner's condition? What are your fears around that? I know a big one for me was the fear of the unknown, the fear of loss, of potentially losing my spouse, because there were some scary moments that we've had in the past year where Daryl didn't had a seizure, he didn't wake up, and then we had to call 911, and we had to send him to the hospital to get him checked out. And at one point, also, we were concerned maybe there was something going on with his heart. We didn't know if it was related to his disorder, his seizure disorder, or if it was some other problem that had been masked maybe and now was starting to show itself. But thank heavens it wasn't. But still, all those just those constant scary moments can really drain a person. So there can be a lot of fear, and it's tough. And then you're put in that situation of how do you handle that fear? I mean, I know personally for me, since my daughter's only almost 2, I was trying to be strong because I knew she would be scared in those moments, that she was scared and that she was overwhelmed and she didn't understand what was going on. So it was very evident to me that I tried not to show my fear, and I tried to explain things the best way that I could for her to understand that, Daddy's just not feeling well, and that he has to get help from people at the hospital, but he's going to be okay. But that's hard. Another aspect that I want you to think about is, how has the impact of you having to pick up the slack when your spouse or partner has had to back off for a while? Daryl had to quit working as much as he used to because his body needs to rest, because with epilepsy, it's a very physical condition. And so when he has an episode, it's like your body gets, the way our doctor described it to us, it's like your body's being put through a marathon, or like you've just run a marathon race. And so naturally afterwards, you're exhausted. You have to rest. And also stress coinciding with that. Stress is a huge issue that can make things worse with epilepsy. So so having to have my husband realize, well, both of us to realize that we need to put our foot down and start making arrangements for him to not work as much at his job, at least for the time being, until we get him stabilized on the proper doses of medication and treatment, that was necessary. But that was hard for my husband because naturally, like a lot of men are, and partners, they want to work hard. They want to work a 40-hour work week, and maybe not want to, but they're dedicated to doing that because they're providers. They want to financially provide for their families and be the strong one and help out around the house a ton. But when you're sick and you're physically not able to because you're not feeling well, you're tired, it's tough. Seeing my spouse go through the loss of independence in terms of his job, in terms of just not feeling well, in terms of not being able to drive for safety right now while he's undergoing treatment, that has been so hard to see. And I can imagine for you guys, that's really tough too, because you don't like to see your partner go from being a strong, healthy, independent, full of life to being suddenly dependent, or even just feeling so down, feeling frustrated and angry and just not themselves, and that's really hard. And with a condition like epilepsy, it's not one of those quick things like, say, if you break an arm where you know exactly black and white what to do. You get an x-ray to see if it is a break. If you need to have surgery, you have surgery, and then you have some rehabilitation therapy afterwards to get the strength and the range of motion back. But with epilepsy, there's no black and white protocol like that. It's a lot of trial and error. So it's not as fast a process. I mean, just to get to where we're at now, it's taken us over a year, excuse me, because it was a year on December 9th. So it's still an ongoing process, which is hard, but at the same time, it's something we have to deal with, and it's something we daily have to deal with. And I'm sure for whatever situation you and your partner or spouse are going through and your family's going through, that's very much the same for you guys as well, that it's a daily process. So then how can you come up with healthy ways to process it? And also it may just come to I know personally for me, it was just acknowledging that. I know I talked with my mom about this the other day, that I didn't realize or think of the word trauma in terms of what we went through last year. But for me, there was some trauma, just that looking back and realizing all those fear feelings, being overwhelmed feelings. It's related to trauma because I was very much in survival mode, just trying to deal with everything the best I could for my own self and trying to protect my family in terms of keeping my husband calm, our daughter calm. And that is no small thing. That is a really hard thing to deal with. So I want you to think about that. So think about ways that you can handle the trauma better and acknowledge it and face it and deal with it, because it's so important. It's so important. Also, think about what your hopes for this year are. When you're in a season that's hard, you're very tunnel visioned in just the here and now. But what are your hopes? I think it's still important to look forward and think about what the future could look like. Our goal is that, this is just a season. We know we have hope. Our doctors have given us hope. Thank you, Lord. Our doctors have given us compassionate, kind doctors and a medical team that have encouraged us that this disease is manageable. I mean, yes, it would be nice if there was a black and white cure, and that the treatment process would be faster, and everything else. But we have hope. We're looking at the hopeful side, that we will get Daryl seizure free and find the right treatment that works for his unique body, that his body tolerates well, that he will be able to drive again, that he will be able to get back to work full time, and that we will recover financially, and that my business will be successful, and that we will be able to get back on track with our goals. So I do want to offer that piece too, that I want you to get with your spouse or partner and think about some hope. What positive things and goals can you pray about, meditate on, think about, even while you're in the midst of the eye of the story, in the eye of the storm. Even though I know it's easier said than done when you're in the thick of the storm, it's really, really hard. But at the same time, I think equally staying in the negative side of things and the pessimistic side of things doesn't help you process the storm any better either. So that's important. So anyway, I hope this little sesh on some of the hard stuff helps. I want you to be able to move forward as a healthy, confident, at peace wife or partner and mother in 2021 to the fullest of your ability. I am still processing myself on where we're at, and I have big goals for my business. I have big goals for my daughter and my husband's health improving, and what our life could look like once we're back on top of the world financially, at least for our neck of the woods. But I know it's a process. I know seasons don't last forever. I know that we can't rush the seasons because things happen when they're supposed to. I don't want us to wish away the time and care that our team is taking with making sure we're moving at a safe pace, with making sure we get Daryl headed in the right direction. And I'm equally on personally in my development as a wife, as a mother, as an entrepreneur. I don't want to rush the process though either. I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing to be the best that I can be, whatever way, shape, or form that is. So, anyway, this is a new week. It's full of, and I want us starting off the week full of hope, full of energy, and giving ourselves grace, and remembering that we are doing the best we can. No one knows our families like we do, and that it is so important to take time for yourself so that you can be the wife or partner and the mother that you need to be, and that it is definitely okay to grieve and to process and to acknowledge that you're not Superwoman, as much as we would like to be, that you're not Superwoman, and that you're human, and that it is definitely okay to process, to cry, to vent, to get it all out of your system in a healthy way, so you acknowledge it,
Get away from there.
and then you can move forward.
Get away from there.
All right, guys. Well, I will see you in tomorrow's challenge, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day, whatever you're doing in your neck of the woods. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to DM me or leave a comment. All right. You want to say anything to him, Linda? Oh, you just want to blow him a kiss. All right, guys. Well, God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye.